Hi, I'm Lee Solden. This is a live video at World Languages. Today's subject is uh, teaching Dutch. I'm not a native Dutch speaker, but I believe I can teach you Dutch fairly quickly, and I do have the assistance of someone who speaks Dutch. Um, and I'll be referring you to watch videos, including one that he made um, in Dutch. And I want your ear to get used to Dutch. Now, I was told to wait a couple minutes before I actually start these lectures in case someone's watching live. Again, my name is Lee Solden. I am learning 12 languages. I am learning and I teach all of Greek, Italian, Dutch, French, Spanish, German, Russian, Korean, Hindi, Mandarin, mainstream Arabic, and Brazilian Portuguese. Okay, and again, this is live at the World Languages Facebook page, and today is August 5th, and I'll be trying to do these every day at the same time, 5 o'clock US Eastern Time. Okay, I'm going to give you an overview of my program. There's basically three parts to it, and this is all to do with something called natural language acquisition. This system was developed by me, or I should say, I came across it piece by piece, mostly by accident. Before I knew what natural language acquisition was, I later read about that and found out that what I'd come upon was just the way that everybody learns their language as a kid. But in my opinion, I'm looking around and yeah, other people do natural language acquisition, but they don't necessarily use my methods. And I think I just not seen anyone using my methods, and I don't think there's a better way to learn a language. So if you're out there thinking, well, maybe I don't want to learn Dutch, well, it won't take you that much time to learn it really. Um, Learning languages is not something that takes a lot of time. What it takes is getting into a habit or two, okay, or three. So there's three habits you need to get into. Those three habits are surround yourself with the language for hours a day. And I've heard people giving lectures about what's the appropriate amount of passive listening versus active listening. Well, and they don't talk up passive listening a whole lot. What is passive listening? Passive listening means um, I'm going to assume this video is still going. Um, Passive listening means you're hearing it. It's coming in your ear, but you're not paying any attention to it. You're going about your business doing something else. Maybe you're watching TV. Uh, Maybe you're reading a book. Maybe you're listening to your favorite music. But as kind of like noise in the background, the Dutch in this case is going to be playing. So I want everybody out there who wants to learn Dutch, or maybe not just Dutch, maybe you want to, once you learn how easy this process is to learn a language, you may decide to learn other languages from me. And I don't charge anything. Anybody who wants to uh, learn these languages, I'm more than happy to teach them. Okay. Um, so Today is going to be all about passive listening, okay? Because this is the first thing I need you to do if I'm going to teach you Dutch. Once you start the habit of passive listening, I don't want you to stop that habit every day. Find time in your day to where Dutch is going into your ear. And more specifically, whatever audiobook I'm teaching you at the moment, half of your passive listening should be to that audiobook or more. I mean, some people they choose that's all they listen to is that item that I'm teaching them. But it's perfectly okay if you spend half your time listening to a particular item that you're learning and listen to as much Dutch otherwise. Um, let's say you can listen to the video I'm about to teach you for 2 hours a day. It's a 7 minute long video. You put it on loop and you just let it play over and over again and ignore it. Okay. It has to be loud enough so if you turn your attention to it 100%, listen very carefully, you could tell the Dutch was being spoken there. But that's all. It does not have to be very loud. If you're enjoying some music, it does not have to spoil the enjoyment of your music. It doesn't have to spoil you watching your TV program or your Netflix movie or whatever. Um, if you're studying something and you feel like it's bothering you, turn it down lower. It does not have to be very loud. Okay. You can do passive listening while you're getting ready to go to bed. You can get when you go to when you as you're falling asleep. A lot of times I'll time it so it's gonna go off 20 minutes to a half hour after I go to bed. I don't want to keep me awake. There's some people believe there's some value to listening to a language while you're sleeping. They point out to the fact that babies start picking up the basic rhythm of the language inside the mother's womb. Well, that's probably true, but I caution that people need to sleep, and there's also been studies that show that noises tend to keep a person from having a good deep sleep. So I'm not advocating that people listen while they're sleeping. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that subject to tell you if you should or not. I wouldn't recommend it, but to fall asleep with it, I think is perfectly okay. Um, it gives you, I mean, right there, if you fall asleep with it every night, that gives you 20 minutes more of the language in your ear, which adds up to several hours a week, right? And when you wake up in the morning, uh, maybe you set it so the alarm clock goes off. You start waking up and you start maybe notice this is playing nearby, and maybe you fall back asleep, wake back up, your alarm clock goes off again. Okay, time to get up. Yeah, you got a few more minutes listening to it. So upon waking, upon going to sleep, just another opportunity to do passive listening. Okay. Also, a lot of people that I teach a language are teaching also learning a second language from me, which is often English, but various people learn various combinations of languages from me. One of the best times to do passive listening is if you're doing some kind of studying of another language where it's not strictly verbal study. If you're doing my ear tuning exercises to another language, to say the Spanish, you can't very well be passive listening to Dutch. You want to have all your attention on all your attention on the Spanish ear tuning. But what if you're just doing read throughs for Spanish? That means you're looking over your Spanish notes, okay, for a sentence, and then you're going to listen to it maybe 3 times while reading it. Then you're just going to listen to it for understanding. This isn't really strictly about the ear. It's about understanding what you're hearing for the Spanish. So while you're doing that, it wouldn't hurt to have the Dutch playing at a low volume in the background. So you're doing your read throughs for Spanish, same time you're doing your passive listening for your Dutch. And okay, more reasons to do the passive listening and stay in a habit of it. Okay, sure, kids all learn their own language in an environment where they are surrounded by that language. So right there, I would say, well, why not? Why wouldn't you surround yourself with Dutch if you want to learn Dutch? Okay, but I'm going to give you specific reasons why I want you to surround yourself with the Dutch. Number one, it's part of ear tuning. The more you keep yourself surrounded by Dutch and you're doing those ear tuning exercises I having you do, which you never stop doing. You start doing a lot of them and then you do less and less, but you never stop completely. And the passive listening on top of that ear tuning keeps getting you a better and better and hopefully eventually a native ear for a language. Okay. That's why I tell people do not stop the ear tuning, do not stop the passive listening, because that's part of how you get your ear tuned in, a combination of passive listening plus ear tuning exercises. Okay, second reason why you never stop listening passively to Dutch is because your speech center, even though you're not paying any attention to it, your speech center is. Your speech center is hearing this stuff. Your speech center is part of your subconscious. It is picking stuff up 20 times faster than you are. So your speech center is getting input from this passive listening that you're ignoring. Now, when you do your read throughs, you're going it'll be to a audiobook that you are learning, okay? And your passive listening, half of it is going to be to that audiobook. So you're going back and forth. Your mind's getting input about what the words mean, okay, from your read throughs, because you're going to look at the English sentence, and then you're going to look at the once you've looked over your notes, see what the Dutch sentence means. You're then going to listen to the Dutch sentence maybe a few times. Look over the notes more if you need to, and then you're going to close your eyes and listen a few times. So right there, you have input into your speech center, an association between what the Dutch words are and what the target language is. Okay. On top of that, your speech center is also getting the passive listening throughout the day for several hours. Between those two things, you very rapidly learn the Dutch a lot faster than if you try like to study it or if you try to do these read throughs without the passive listening. It's just slower. Okay. You're, the way I teach is like a kid learns. A kid does not care that he's learning English. He just grew up in an English speaking environment and picks it up automatically, right? So I want you to be the same way when you learn Dutch. You're going to put yourself in this environment, Dutch surrounding you, and you're going to basically pick it up. There's no studying involved. The read throughs are not studying, they substitute for what you get naturally in a household. The child hears some Dutch spoken to the child. Okay. The speech center is paying attention to the gestures the mother's making, paying attention to any known words that surround new words, paying attention to who else is in the room, paying attention to the everything from the time of day to what the siblings are doing to uh, what is the child doing. Um, what did the mother just do? What did the mother does later? Everything, the smells in the room, any sounds in the room, um, anything that is being said, felt, etc., that child is not paying attention to probably any of it, okay? But the speech center is. And overnight, that input gets translated into language and put into the permanent memory of the student or of the child, okay? So again, the kid has growing up in a household starts out associating words to sounds, gestures, etc. But more and more, the kid is associating new words with known words. Okay. For an adult, we can skip all the gestures and whatnot. The adult knows the language. So why not just simply say in the known language what something means and then say it in the target language? That's plenty of information for the speech center. Speech center is so amazing. I call it this language supercomputer. Uh, that is plenty of information for you to to slowly and surely learn this language. When I say slowly, well, it starts out slow. You know, children don't just learn a language overnight. But as you learn more and more new words in your target language, any further new words are now within known words, and you pick them up faster. This process, just like in a child, accelerates. And pretty soon you know a whole lot of vocabulary in your target language, and you can learn a tremendous amount of Dutch doing what I'm going through this process. Okay, so the passive listening, to sum that up a little bit, is for both continuous ear tuning to the language, Dutch in this case, and for picking up the meanings of the language, reinforcing the meanings. Okay. Now, at the moment, the main thing that you're worried about is ear tuning. And I want you to find some Dutch to listen to. And I have posted on one of my comments. I post as world languages here because I'm a guest editor. But if you look for my post, I identify myself as Lee Solden, and I put the link to a YouTube video that you can go to and start looping it. It's 7 minutes long. I think 7 minutes is a pretty good length for a video because if you loop it and you listen to it for 3 hours a day, you've heard it many, many times. And I believe the power of repetition. And a lot of people will tell you deal with languages is it's repetition, repetition, repetition. Yes. Okay. So you're trying to get used to this, what this guy is saying. Remember, you're not going to understand anything the guy is saying at first. Okay. He's talking Dutch. You don't know Dutch. Okay. But so you have to get your ear tuned in to him. And so I want your speech center to just get 21 hours of input. So your speech center starts getting used to the basic rhythm of the language. Okay. After the 21 hours of you listening to that, then I'm going to start you on ear tuning exercises, which I'm not even going to cover that the first 3 days. Okay. The first 3 days, I'm not even going to cover um, anything except getting people started in this program and begin doing passive listening and tell them why. So it's gonna be somewhat repetitive. Um, Also, I'm going to try to incorporate as many languages as possible into teaching you Dutch. Okay, And okay, the guy, for instance, who did the Dutch recording, his particular dialect of Dutch is called West Flanders. That means he's from Belgium. It's part of what is called Flemish. Flemish doesn't really exist per se. It's what people call the Dutch spoke in Belgium, but there is no such thing as one particular dialect spoken in Belgium. Instead, there's many dialects. So anyway, I'm even have to get this guy to repeat what he said in Dutch as much as he can, stay in West Flanders. Well, maybe somebody in West Flanders wants to learn Dutch. So why not? He can do that. He is going to repeat it in English. So you can listen to what he's saying in English to get an idea of what he's saying. Um, you can do that anytime. As soon as he produces that, I think he's gonna produce it tomorrow. So right now, the only thing that's there is the 7 minutes of Dutch being spoken. Okay, and all he's doing is introducing himself, telling the story of how he met me and his and learning languages, that kind of thing. Okay, so again, look for the link, start listening to Dutch, and other places to go to. If you just go to YouTube, and the key word is Netherlands. Netherlands. That's what they call the Dutch language in the Dutch language. Okay, so Netherlands taal. That's Nederlands, Netherlands. Okay, so if you just type in Netherlands, it's going to come up with things in Dutch. I know there's a thing called Lecturama, bunch of fairy tales. Hey, they're good. They're good for listening to. Um, there are people that I'm starting to teach Dutch right now that I'm teaching out of those Dutch fairy tales. And if you feel more comfortable learning that accent, that a Dutch speaker from the Netherlands, hey, contact me on Facebook Messenger, Lee Solden. That's Lees as in Sam, Ohlden. Contact me on Facebook Messenger, and I can certainly teach you Dutch through one of those fairy tales to start you off with. Um, doesn't matter to me which way you go there. Um, Also, if you are watching this video and are interested in learning Dutch, or you're just interested in starting to learn Dutch so you know how this system goes and see how well it works, please let me know in the comments, okay? And you might want to tell me what's your ability to read English. How much better would it be if I had more of this in your particular language? I'd like to know who my audience is, so I can tailor it more towards you. Um, whatever my friend says, my language partner, his name is Slash Depover, on those videos. Hey, I'm gonna try to read. I'm gonna try to read whatever he says in Dutch. I'm gonna try to read it in Spanish to everybody. Uh, Probably in Brazilian Portuguese. Um, might maybe Spanish. I say Spanish, Brazilian Portuguese. Um, I think we're both going to do it in German. Um, because I'm teaching him German. So I think we're both going to try to say what he's saying in Dutch in German. Hey, maybe there's a German speaker out there who wants to learn Dutch. And I find it kind of crazy. This guy, by the way, he's a Dutch speaker, and I'm teaching him German. It's a bit odd, but hey, it's working. He's learning it, and I think I'm teaching him German very very effectively. Um, so what other languages can I do this in? Let me see. Say Dutch, German. Uh, I'll probably do it in Italian. I'm not that good at Italian, but I'm good enough to where I can certainly Google the Spanish into Italian and read it, right? So I'm definitely going to read the 7 minutes of what he said in Dutch in Italian. Um, let me see here. French for sure. I can speak French pretty well, so I'll definitely repeat it in French. Um, Let me see here. Hindi. Probably give it a stab at it. Why not? Um, Russian. Yeah. I'll have to Google that, both Hindi and Russian. But yeah, I can probably make several copies of whatever he says. I am going to say it in various languages, trying to get a wider audience for how, make this more useful to people trying to learn Dutch. Okay. Um, Now, how this process is going to go, a little more nuts and bolts detail. It's going to start out with simply everybody listening to a lot of Dutch. And I prefer that they spend half their time listening to that 7 minute audio book on YouTube that I'm steering them to. And then at least a couple hours, and then maybe whatever else you want to learn in Dutch. Okay. That's pretty simple. Second thing is I'm going to write ear tuning syllables for what this guy is saying in Dutch, at least 30 seconds worth of his speech. And I'm going to teach everybody how to go from not really hearing him very well to hearing him quite well by doing a bit of ear tuning exercises. The passive listening combined with just a few hours of ear tuning exercises, this guy is going to sound quite clear to you. Will you have a native ear for West Flanders accent Dutch? No, but you'll be able to make it out. And I'm going to encourage you to continue to do more ear tuning. And I'll probably give you another set of 30 seconds worth of ear tuning. And of course, if you at the same time, if you want to contact me on again, Facebook Messenger, Lee Solden, and ask for the ear tuning syllables for something that's more straight Dutch. Hey, do that. You can do ear tuning to that also. You can do both. Won't hurt you. It won't, just because you can hear one accent of Dutch, it's not going to hurt you to tune into another accent of Dutch. It's like, hey, I've done ear tuning to a particular accent of English, a couple of them. They're not my accent. It doesn't make me talk any different if I tune my ear into other uh, English accents. Why would I even do that, by the way? Is because I'm writing ear tuning syllables for somebody in a particular accent they want in English. Well, I can't do that unless I do the ear tuning so I hear exactly what the speaker's saying, so that I can write the appropriate ear tuning syllables so that the person in question, my student, ends up with that accent. Well, okay, so we're getting off the subject a little bit. Um, so the first thing is you listen to a lot of Dutch. Second thing is you're gonna do ear tuning. Well, what is ear tuning? I mean, what is ear tuning exercises? Okay, ear tuning exercises. I am going to represent each syllable in Dutch using English letters. Okay. And why English? Well, it's a pretty universal language. If there's people out there that just don't know any English and they can't make no sense of English, I mean that's possible. Let me know. I mean, if you're an Arabic speaker that just does not know any English and hasn't learned any the English alphabet at all, hey, I can write these ear tuning syllables for you in Arabic. You let me know. It'd take me a little bit, but I can do it. Let me see here. So the ear tuning syllables are going to be in something you can read, okay? And you're going to follow that guy's voice. Well, excuse me. You're going to attempt to follow that guy's voice, syllable by syllable of everything he says in Dutch. And as you're following his voice, you're reading the ear tuning syllable that corresponds to the spoken syllable from the Dutch speaker. Now, this is called, I call it ear tuning exercises. It is something that never existed until I stumbled upon it. And again, multiple steps, um, series of discoveries that came about because of all these languages that I'm studying. If I had not been studying Greek, for instance, I would have never developed this system, because what I did one day as part of studying Greek, I would have never done it. Everything I study, other than Greek, I have programming available on Netflix. So that's what I used to be doing. I'd be watching stuff on Netflix. Never got me anywhere really.